Okay. All right. Oh, hold on 1 second. Need to. What's that gonna do? Woo, 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 woo. I think you can see that. Um, settings. It's hand tracking, movement tracking, hand tracking. Continue. Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay. I don't need this, bitch. Oh, okay. Let's see. Enable. Don't. No. I guess so. Oh, I see. Huh. Okay. So the idea is what I was trying to do is I was trying to get it so that I can get rid of these controllers and I can just have it go. And eventually it'll switch to these. There we go. And I wanted to do that because I wanted to show these photographs and I'm trying to. I got this extremely large charge cable. This is actually the USB-C cable that they give you with the Quest Ones. Pretty sure this is the cable that I got with the Quest One. Either that or I got this cable with a special pack that was supposed to allow you to um, connect this cable to a PC to do um, was it that PC streaming service or whatever. Uh, so these are images that I produced with either Wombo or Studio AI. I had at one time an Midsummer, or no, I mean Midsummer Dreams. I mean a Mid Journey account, but they dropped me for reasons I shall not go into. But they were they're just complete jerk offs over there, and I hate their. I never met the guy David who represents their organization, but they treat him like a god over there, and it's like it's like going to North Korea with those guys. Um, they they love David so much that they would never lay a coffee cup down on a picture of David because they'd be afraid that they would get um, banned from Midjourney, and it would be like hell on earth that they wouldn't have access to it. Midjourney, and I was just like, "Fuck that!" There are other AI image generators out there. I'm not gonna go and worship this fucker. And they eventually, after me kind of protesting a little bit, they eventually just let go of me, and they had their reasons because they were looking at the prompts that I was generating, and I was being experimental, and they were like, we know where you're going with these prompts, and we're gonna kick you out because you go against our policies and shit like that. And I was just like, you fucktards, I'm not gonna have anything to do with you. I'll go jump off a cliff, you imbeciles. Um, so anyhow, this was created with Wombo. This was created also with Wombo, using Clip Interrogator to generate the prompt. This is created with Wombo. I mean, Wombo's really good at creating realistic imagery. You just have to know which one of these styles to use in order to do it and what, you know, to give it. Some of these are created with something called Studio AI. The difference between Wombo and Studio AI is that Wombo, if you pay for the yearly subscription, which is like $33 a year or something like that, or it's $5 a month, um, you get unlimited access to generation of images, and it generates 4 images for every single prompt you give it, and it's so addictive. Um, Sometimes it though the um, if the subject is too far away from the virtual cameraman, it their eyes end up all screwy, and that doesn't bother me. If you get them close enough, it'll actually draw their eyes correctly, and um, that isn't the reason why these pictures are so small. The reason why these pictures are so small is because I prefer to draw. I prefer to print out images this way. Um, Anyhow, this is also created through Clip Interrogator. I mean, by using Clip Interrogator, looking at an image or something, and so these are just like my favorite prints. But I even got stuff now that I haven't even printed that I really like. I'll eventually put on these cards. The cardstock is HP Photo um, cards, and these are the smaller ones, the four by sixes or whatever they are, 2 by, I don't know if it's 4 by, so it is 4 by 8 inch cards. And that's the same image with using a variance. And so a variance is, this is common in AI. You can create a variant of an existing AI image, and it will generate a variant of whatever it is that you're looking at, um, that you're working with. Um, but there is usually a way to seed the prompt, and the seed determines if it produces the same image again. But it's usually not the case. You can take the image that the AI generated, the same subject matter, and put it in a different pose or something like that. It's just going to draw a completely different image with completely different subject matter. So it's very subjective what you get, and you just you whatever you get is what you get, and you pick the stuff you like, and it's not like that's the difference between being an artist and doing AI art. Is with an artist, you know what you want and you can make it the way you want. With AI art, you just get, it's kind of what you see is what you get, and you can't do shit with it. You can't go in and tell it, I only want this, I want that, and paint it. Eventually, somewhere down the road, it's going to be like it'll render this, and then you'll be able to turn it around and see it from a different perspective. So same sort of thing. And these are very common. These kinds of renders are very common, and and some I like, and some I'm not like really um, into rendering of AI imagery that is typical, and this is typical. You can go to any AI, Wombo, Mid Journey, or anything, and people create images like this and think it's so great, and after a while, it just becomes so cliche. And cliche means you've seen it a million times before. Um, Other people doing it, and it gets to the point to where it's overdone. That um, people are not, because they've been done so many times. Um, you fail to see the beauty in it, and it becomes boring. And so, to me, what I tend to try to do is look for stuff that just doesn't look normal, like that, you know. And this is like a, a model sitting in front of an image that was inspired by her, but that's not what this is. But I was thinking, hey, maybe they're like in the gallery and they're like sitting in front of their images. But really, what was going on there was that the AI was told to paint two women in an image, and it didn't know whether to make it 2D or 3D, which happens a lot. It doesn't understand the significance of the imagery being flat or three-dimensional. It's like it it can flick a switch, and it can make those guys flat, and it can make that one three-dimensional. It's uh, same here. It was supposed to put two images of some ladies in a frame, and it did that, but it put him on the side of a building. And so, as I said, it's so cliche. You see it, and then it's like, oh, I've seen that before. Yeah, it was just a variant. Um, oh, I love this image, and you see the women. They have these fantastic bodies, but their faces look like old men. This is actually it was created with Clip Interrogator. No, no, I created a prompt, and I wanted it to create images um, like Dolly's stuff, and I think even asked that I wanted um, ugly faced women and stuff, and it generated this. But the thing is I think I did it after using Clip Interrogator on an image of Dolly or something. And I'm not talking about the image render Dolly. I'm talking about the artist there. And Kate Bush. This is Kate Bush inspired. So I actually wrote some prompts where I wanted Kate Bush imagery, and he gave it to me. He gave me exactly what I wanted. I was I was inspired by. I asked for exactly what I wanted. He gave me what the exact look. And it rarely happens, that it gets exactly what you want. Same Kate Bush stuff. I want Kate Bush and some dancers, and I want it to be all style, and mention what I want, and I may even run some Kate Bush images through a Clip Interrogator and see what it generates, and then kind of cut and paste some of the prompts, the pieces of the prompts that were generated, and I learned about Clip Interrogator through a guy at Midjourney, so it isn't like I got that in a vacuum. Um, He's like, hey, check this out, go over here and you can use this program and it'll take an image and it'll generate a text prompt from it. And then you can run those. But you can do the stuff like Clip Interrogator now in ChatGPT 4.5. The commercial version, the $20 a month subscription, they have an option where you can load in an image, and Chad will try to describe what the I call him Chad. Chad will try to describe what the image is that's seen, and then you can ask Chad, can you generate a prompt from this image? Can you generate a prompt that can then feed into another AI image generator for this image, and it will do it. And so that's kind of the same thing as what Clip Interrogator does. And this was gnarly, and I think this was inspired by a painter, a certain painter, and then I just went over and over it, having it printed up, and eventually got something like this, which is bizarre because it's like somehow he's beyond walking on water. He's practically walking on air. He's got he's, and I think it might have been inspired by that lyric in the Kate Bush song where it says, uh, um, take my shoes and throw them on the lake, and I'll be 2 steps on the water. It's like a a a down payment on walking on water. Uh, and this is, yeah, a guy with multiple hats. Alien Thanksgiving. It's like Thanksgiving on Saturn. All their animals up here, and everybody's like getting ready to eat, and they're just kind of like sitting back. And this image is using one of there's these models of styles inside Wombo, and that you have to pick after you've picked your prompt, that to tell it what model, what AI, trained AI uh, that was trained on certain imagery, what you want it. I think it's either that or it's a different weighting of the existing AI, but AI's neurons. The weighting determines um, how it's conditioned to draw stuff. But the version 1 models that they had couldn't produce imagery from prompts. The very first Wombo rendering system couldn't generate, supposedly couldn't generate actual 3D images, and this was like the go between of it being able to actually generate imagery from prompts. And so the version 1 models produce this crap, and it sometimes it comes up looking really kind of gnarly, and that's the reason why I did that, and the reason why I liked that image is because it looked gnarly, and then you can't even tell what the prompt was. Um, this is also the Alien Thanksgiving. Looks like Thanksgiving in the city, in the alien city. You guys are just kind of like not familiar with the. I just came here for the free all you can eat buffet. That's these guys are like in here from some corporation. These guys are came here to. Uh, they're commuters. They're what are the business commuters type guys, and they're coming from other planets, coming together to have their Thanksgiving meal together. Susie Sue inspired this. This is like this is the way she looks of Susie and the Banshees, or at least how I imagine she would. But and a watercolor image. the AI, all it's all AI generated, by the way. Um, Lithographic process with a hat. And as I say, I always look for stuff that just isn't typical. And this is an example. I mean, this is typical of AI, but people don't tend to make AI images and pick stuff like this. I like this kind of stuff. It looks really um really weird to somebody else, but to me it's like really awesome to see stuff like that. Same here. This is like something you could see in an art gallery. I mean, look at this too. And you've probably seen stuff like this in an art gallery, but this was AI generated, and I could just keep telling it, keep drawing something using this prompt, and it will keep generating an image. You could do that all day. It's like playing Minecraft. You know, you'll be just keep going on and on forever, and you keep finding caverns with diamond and stuff in them, and these like and undersea caverns, and you know special groves underneath the ground, and it just never stops. You could go on forever. That's the same thing with AI. Is it could draw a billion of images with the same prompt. And so the thing is you either do that or you just say, um, draw 4 or 5 images, and then you go on to the next prompt. And that's what Clip Interrogator does to me, is that I just end up running everything through Clip Interrogator. And for me, it's kind of like I'm excavating imagery um, from a bottomless pit of input, and jogging the brain of an AI that is like a curator of all imagery, can figure out how to describe anything it sees, um, even to the degree of telling you which artists were combined to create that image. Who would and sometimes they'll repeat images in the repeat words in the prompt, which, from what I can tell, um, is it unsure of what exactly the exact style of the art. It also may be that there are like multiple clusters of neurons, and each cluster is like chiming off who it was that created the imagery, and in some cases they chime off a word, and then it just repeats throughout the entire prompt, which makes no sense whatsoever why they have to do that. But I think that's the result. The prompts that are generated are the result of bunches of clusters of neurons in the neural net, chiming out um, attributes. And if they were all together, they probably wouldn't repeat the words. But um, the thing that does the output doesn't bother to try to take those words and reduce them, keep them from being repetitive. But there actually is, I've heard through the people that, when I was in Midjourney, and I was in the Discord and talking to people, some people said that if you repeat certain words multiple times, it creates different imagery. And what it does is it gives emphasis to the AI generator how much you want that imagery in there. And so repeating the words is a way of saying, I know what you would produce. I don't want it. I want this. And I had a problem that generated these, and I put a movie up on Instagram, put to an Aretha Franklin song, and Um, a rose is still a rose, baby girl. You're still, uh, um, uh, um, you're still, you have the power because rose is still, And I made a bunch of these images of these girls who were like on the side of the road, just kind of like, down on their luck and, in some sort of relationship that just went south. And the song is just trying to point out to them that it's life and, go on, move on, and, you know, don't don't let it don't let it bug you. And so I created a whole bunch of images for that, and it generated from one prompt. And I couldn't believe the imagery that of these women that it was producing. And it's just like, the imagery that the AI generates is inspired by billions of images that it's been fed. And so it's not like the imagery that you get is completely random. It's a concoction it's a concoction from that's inspired by millions of photographs. And so it may make one photograph the source of the inspiration and then use the other photographs to stylize it. And as a result of that, there will be times you'll look at an image and you'll say, I've seen this before. And that's because it's being inspired by stuff from magazines or whatever. Um, and so there's probably a way that you could create a thing like Clip Interrogator where it would go through and it could tell you where the inspiration came, what photographs possibly inspired the major photographs that inspired certain images that were generated. Because that's what it's doing. It's basically pulling imagery from millions of photographs, and it's kind of like doing some sort of collagist effect. I would say that AI image generation is no different than what collages do. It's just on a very minute scale. It's not cutting up images and putting and making paintings out. It's taking images and it's drawing the concepts and the orientations and the colors and the details from those images, and it's combining them in a way that no glue, no scissors and paste could ever do for you as a collagist. Um, but that's really all the AI generator is. It's just it's an extreme form of collagist um, renderings, and so it can only produce imagery in the orientation and in the style and everything that it got it. And the imagery it can generate is only the imagery that and it'll create variations on those images. It'll do morphs and stuff, but can't it can't under it can't produce anything it hasn't seen. In some cases, it will mistake what it's seen, and like it'll give some rendering somebody with multiple fingers, or draw a limb that's just hovering in air that's like not even attached to the person, but for some reason it thinks it's attached, and or it saw a person, it rendered the person, but it didn't understand the significance that the limbs of a people have to be connected to the body, and so sometimes it'll end up with one or two extra limbs just because it feels they should be there, or it its statistical part of itself is saying there's a grand chance that this arm has another twin arm attached to it, and it doesn't bear anything on reality. There's no way that the AI guys can go in there and tell this AI what kind of imagery makes sense, what kind doesn't, other than using another AI to judge the other AI's art and tell it what worked and what didn't work, which is how they hone in on making AI imagery look um, better and realistic stuff. And to give an example of that whole thing, in Wombo, there's no way to produce a person that is upside down. You can tell it as many times as you want. I want this person to be upside down, and it will create them right side up in every case. And that's because it's only ever seen people right side up. It's never seen them upside down. And if you want to try it out, try this. Any person, pick any person, and say, I want to see them upside down bungee jumping upside down. And what it'll do is it will try to generate them um, bungee jumping, but it will create a perspective where they're pretty much right side up. It'll orient the camera in such a way that they're right side up. So, like, the camera will be above them, looking down on them, and they will be laying flat. Realistically, in the imagery, they'll be laying flat, but but the, but due to the perspective and the way you're looking at the person, you're looking down on them at an angle. Um, you're able to get away with saying this is a real bungee jumper, but the reality is that neither the bungee jumper nor the perspective on the photo are upside down. It's that you're upside down and they're right side up as a result of that. But you're not upside down to the point to where you can see, you know, it's like rather than rather than seeing somebody upside down like this, you're looking at them like that, and you can see, and so you can you get this perspective, and they're right side up, even though in your brain you're saying they're upside down. They're not. They're right side up, and that's all the AI can do. It can't actually create you upside down and draw you that way because all the imagery it's ever been fed is right side up. So it makes no sense. Even if it could imagine something being upside down, it won't produce it because all of its neurons are weighted to say that stuff can only exist right side up. And that's where an AI generator can be outshined by an artist. Is that that an artist can draw stuff that has significance, that has bearing on reality, whereas the AI generator will never have any understanding of reality. So the images it generates will be constrained by the images it's seen, but it also the value of the AI is that it generates it can go places where our constraints and our bearings on reality limit us from seeing. So it can generate stuff that is off the wall, and it's kind of like it can find a different path to the same kind of imagery that nobody would take because your brain is like saying, well, this is wrong. And, our brains would say this is wrong in from the perspective of it being having to be um, bearing on physical reality. but the AI doesn't understand reality, and because of that, it's not. It doesn't. It isn't constrained by the little parts of our brain that will say we can't produce this because it doesn't make sense. The AI is. It makes perfect sense. I don't know um what sense is, It makes perfect sense. I don't know what perfect sense is, but it makes perfect sense to me because I've seen it in all these imageries, and I don't see why I can't do this, you know. So the constraints are different. In our brains, the constraint is on reality. In the AI's brain, the constraint is on what it's seen. Um, it doesn't understand reality, and it doesn't understand the significance, and it doesn't reason that an astronaut's head should be inside the helmet. It doesn't understand what happens to organic matter exposed to the void of space. It doesn't understand any of that stuff. All it understands is the imagery that's been fed it, and that what it's seen determines what it produces. And so once you understand that, then you start to see how it can't possibly replace an artist. But the thing is that to see this as a different kind of paintbrush, that the whole AI art thing is another kind of paintbrush, and you are the one who decides what passes and what doesn't pass. And if it doesn't have the imagery that you want, the kind of imagery you want, you go into the prompt and you adjust it. It's a different kind of it's a kind of AI art. It's a kind of art programming. It gives artists the capacity to understand uh, programmers, what programmers, um, computer programmers have fell in love with. The AI art, what it does is it marries all sorts of fields of understanding together with the way that programmers have worked for such a long time into you're basically programming, you're telling the AI art through a language, through normal English, but you're basically hacking, you're programming. This is what's called hacking. You take a program and then you just make adjustments in it and see what the results produce. And that's exactly what you're doing with this AI stuff is you're sitting there tweaking it until you get the outcome that you want. And so the people that are afraid that this is doing their job and all that stuff, those guys need to really try to use this stuff and then come to the realization of what it does and what it can't do. And you know even though maybe down the road it can do it, because basically we're cloning the way humans are, because the neuron inside of AI and artificial intelligence, the neural nets, are inspired by our own neurons. So eventually it's going to have the capacity to understand the significance of things like that. And then it's probably going to be a problem. But currently right now it's to me it's just a paintbrush. It's like I'm coding in C or in Lisp or in Java or whatever, some program using existing libraries of codified thought to produce imagery. And rather than having to understand the programming language, um, it brings the computer to you, and it understands what you're saying more, because it's able to relate the words you use to the concepts of the so anyhow, that's and here's another image was created with Wombo. Another image. I have whole tons of these. And I have tons of things that look like that too. And that's the thing. Another thing that's really common with AI artists is that they have this greedy disposition of just to completely have the AI just generating tons from the same prompt. I'm sure there's some artists out there that changed their have not gone on to the next prompt, and they just keep generating images from the same prompt, and that's going to be their entire life as one prompt, and it will be on their headstone whenever they die, the exact prompt they used for all of their art. I have no doubt that's going to happen. Somebody's going to do that, and they're going to use the same prompt, but they're going to use different AI generators with the same prompt, and it'll be on their headstone whenever they die. Here I was just telling it to draw two girls with a certain style, and it didn't see any significance in doing the style or not. I was telling it to create a photograph. I think what it is in the prompt there was some ambiguity about whether or not the the girls needed to be drawn in a certain way or if it was a photorealistic image. And as a result of that, the AI kind of decided which girl was going to be which one was going to be two dimensional of an art style and which one was going to be photorealistic. And so in this case, it created the two girls as being drawn with the same style. This image you see a lot throughout all this packets, and all it is it's the same image uh, with a variant. Um, you can do variations on an image. This is common of a lot of AI art programs. Is that you get an image you like, then you can create variations on that image, and that's what I'm doing there. This is something like what I was just. This is like a variation of the prompt that I used for those two girls. Same two girls. The photorealism here is the environment, and they're non photorealistic. They're done in an image style, so they're plastered on the side of the wall, and the environment is 3 dimensional. And another variation, and then I think we I don't know if I started here, and so that's in my most favorite art, my most favorite picture I put up here on my door is this, and you can see how just what I was saying. It doesn't understand the constraint of things being on walls and things being in 3 dimensions. It just flips it like a switch, and I love the character of this image just because these extravagant models, and then there's this lady that's kind of like ho hum. I'm waiting for my doctor in the waiting room, and she's got her special hat on and everything. It's like in another life she could have been one of these models, and it frames her. It uses the frame on the wall, kind of frames her, and shows that she really is a fashion model. And I thought that was great. So that's my most favorite image. And then I've got some other images up here. This is created with, I think this is created with Wombo, with a special mod with a, I think there's a certain model in Wombo, a certain style in Wombo. Oh, it doesn't matter. Just shut up. It was like saying this could be too dark, you know. But This is created with Wombo with a special style. It has certain styles in it that are just off the wall, and that's what you use there. This image, I I I took an image from I took a screen cap from an app called Acrobots in my iPad, and then I fed it through Clip Interrogator, and it generated a prompt that generated this image. Which, if you've ever messed with Acrobots, this looks like an acrobat, like an acrobat, what an acrobat would paint if it had access to clay and drawing utensils. And I thought it was just so off the wall and far out. But that was really just taking an image from Acrobots and running through Clip Interrogator. And this is me telling Wombo I want a picture of Tom Waits, and this is the in a certain style. It was a style of a certain painter, and I really liked the image that I got of Tom Waits. And Tom Waits, by the way, is the is the person who Scarlett Johansson would most like to sound like. She thinks he is fantastic. She tried to make an album of music that was she made an album of music that was inspired by Tom Waits, and she's like a big Tom Waits fan. Um, he's the guy that does that song, Belvedere, you're beautiful when you sleep. You're beautiful when you sleep. You're beautiful. You know, that's Tom Waits. Um, he's got this really scraggly voice, and he's used in movies. There, you've probably seen him in movies because they'll use him as a CD character. If they need a CD character, they'll stick him in that part. Where they might use somebody like Willem Dafoe, they will also use him. So, in fact, they were together. They were put together in a movie, Willem Dafoe and him, and then they would put somebody else. I mean, there's a whole list of characters in Hollywood and in the entertainment that will get sucked in from wherever just because they got these gnarly looking faces and mannerisms. And I mean, Tom Waits is like a he's like um, somebody living in the 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s. I mean, somebody from yesteryear that is here today and still living uh, and represents that seedy, grungy style of the past. You know, uh, and so you need a real a real kind of not criminal, but it isn't criminal. It's just it, you know what I'm getting at. But you know, yes, it may be too dark. Let's go over here. Yeah. Um, this was also another one as I was trying to create a tribe that was um, uh, that that at the center of their culture was being able to play guitar like Eddie Van Halen or something. And so it's like every part of their being is being the like electric guitar. And in this case, I was trying to create. The prompt was actually describing a amoeba that is praising God in church, and so this is what it generated. a, and so you can see all these things in the background that look like lambs, but they're all like these these organisms. It's a three-dimensional, cartoonesque uh, image of an organic of an organism praising the Lord in its organism church, and woman caring for her pet rhinoceros, or yeah, and horses made out of cloth work. Let's see more. I just got tons of this art. That this was created with Midjourney. If you need to see what Midjourney can do, that and then and the lady with the rhinoceros was created with Midjourney. So this is stuff that I created when I was in the Midjourney group, and I guess I said that they kicked me out because I was being experimental with prompts, and they didn't like the stuff I was producing. I mean, that's the thing that really sucks about Midjourney is they look at your prompts, and if anything gets erroneous or goes against their policy, they'll look at what you're producing. Those. I mean, to me, that's more. To me, that's an invasion of privacy. To me, um, that's evil. That's absolute evil to me. And I will not go back to those guys. And I think David is a complete jerk off. I don't give a shit about Midjourney. I don't give a shit about David. What's his name? Who started that whole thing? I hope that guy like gets some terrible disease and dies. That's how I feel about him. He may be doing great things for AI, but I really just do not care for the bum and all the people that worship him. You know. So I think that was created with Midjourney. I'm not sure. I think this is created with Wombo. I'm pretty sure these were created with Wombo. This is created with Midjourney. And that was people with their pets. No, you know what? I think those pictures, the drawings, I think those were created with Midjourney. This was created with Midjourney, and I mean, the Midjourney does produce higher resolution, better looking images, but the the cat's out of the bag. People know why Midjourney produces so good looking images, and it's because they ask their free users. They have the free users of Midjourney in order to get special treatment. They have to go and rate other people's work that was created with Midjourney to tell the Midjourney AI what has aesthetic significance, and that sets the weights for the neurons in the model. uh, the Midjourney, that model is what they call the the trained AI. Um, uh, you go and adjust the weights inside of the neurons. Each neuron has a weight that determines, or not the inputs to the neuron have certain weights, and those inputs determine um, the significance of whether or not a and the output is either a one or a zero, something like that. And so each neuron is just kind of making decisions. It's like each neuron is a committee of inputs from other neurons, and those neurons determine each neuron determines how much how much say each neuron that is connected to it, that's sending input to it, has in making its decision. And so a neural net is just a whole bunch of those, just billions of those connected to each other. And you send all these inputs and it generates all these outputs. And that's how you get the output in the first place, is that they're all kind of making all these decisions about where to stick stuff and what color it should be and all that. And it's that's the way your brain works to a degree, because that's how they figured out how to do it, is they looked at how neurons work in your brain and in your gut and in jellyfish. Uh, I think this was done with Midjourney. Not sure. I think this was created with Wombo. Wombo is starting to Wombo, Dolly, and um, I mean the all the AI generators that were like couldn't even compare to Midjourney are looking more and more Midjourney like. And I think eventually that David character is going to have a hard time making himself look special, and it'll all catch up to him and the rest of the world, and he won't have any new tricks to pull out of his bag, and people will stop worshiping him. Um, this is created with Midjourney, and this is created with Wombo. The thing that's really great about Wombo is its understanding of celebrities' faces. Um, they really, I mean, the celebrities are going to go after Wombo, and they're going to be like, I have a bone to pick with you. And Wombo will be saying, "You have no idea what you're asking. You have no idea what significance this is going to have on your career years from now. You think now it's bad. Just imagine down the road you're telling you can't do this in your AI program, and people saying, fuck you." He says, "Fuck me. It's my likeness." I say, "Fuck you." and, and guys like the imagery will have its own life, and the actor will take a back seat because they'll be old and decrepit, and they won't even be a representation of their likeness. It's the thing to do is for them to reason that this is the future, and then figure out some way to get their foot in the door by um, somehow licensing their likeness whenever it ends up in a movie, through an AI. So if I was what's his name, yeah, I can't bring up his name. I was just looking at his image there. But I mean, it's just like Tom Cruise or somebody like that. They need to they need to figure out some way to get the government to license their likeness whenever people use it in an AI art sense, um, or whenever it's like put in a movie or something. Whenever they're going to be using somebody else, but they're not going to be using Tom Cruise. Or Tom Cruise, he can, even in his 70s, will still be able to play himself, because they'll just replace his face with his youthful likeness, and he won't have to get plastic surgery. He won't get chased by the paparazzi, because the paparazzi realize um, that people are not going to be able to relate to the idea that the old Tom Cruise is the young Tom Cruise. And I mean, it won't really matter whether Tom Cruise is about to die or what. And the paparazzi is not going to be chasing him around, because the paparazzi would have the hardest time claiming that their photographs were authentic and were not produced with AI. So you can see what's the future for the paparazzi is very dismal because they're not going to be able to make money off of selling imagery of entertainers anymore because that imagery is going to be generated by AI. And if they get into a big row over it, I'd say just what we say to the actors who think they own their, you know, who think they can keep people from generating images of themselves through AI. Fuck you, fuck you. There are going to be a lot of people that are going to be saying to other people, "Fuck you." We don't have to have anything to do with you anymore. You seedy, stupid individuals. It's just for Tom Waits. This is hilarious. So anyhow, I'm gonna cut that off. And so bump and camera